Passing the CPA exam basically comes down to one thing: your study plan. And if you get this wrong, it's going to reduce your chances of ever getting through these exams. You need to have the right timeline, strategies, and tools to pass these exams. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to accomplish this to make sure that your study plan is your biggest strength and not your biggest weakness. Let's get into it. So when you're creating your CPA study plan, the first thing you need to do is think about your timeline. And there's no one size fits all for this. You're going to have to think about it yourself and what fits your situation. Some people need to get through these exams within a certain period because, their credits might expire, or they're starting a full-time job, or whatever it is. Some people have no deadline and it can go on forever, which is honestly probably not a good thing. You should probably try to make some sort of deadline that you need to get through all four, at least one of the exams. I would say for each exam, you should try to set a deadline for yourself just to hold yourself accountable and have something to work towards, because like I said, if there's no deadline, you could just push it off forever and forever. But I would say in general, 4 weeks to 12 weeks is probably sufficient. You probably don't need too much more time than that, unless you really have a lot going on in your life and you can't study too much. But that's something you have to assess for yourself. In general, the AICPA recommends about 100 to 150 hours of studying per exam. So that's a nice little, guideline there, but don't be afraid to do more. Just saying. But yeah, once you know how many weeks you want to study and how many hours you want to study, whether it's 100, whether it's 200, whatever it is, you'll have a better idea of when you want to actually take your exam. But yeah, once you know how many hours you want to study for the exam and how many weeks you want to take to prepare for the exam, that gives you a really good stepping stone to move on to the next step of your study plan. So now that you have the longer term timeline planned out, you can kind of focus on, the days and the weeks and how many hours you want to study every day and every week. If you're taking these exams in 4 weeks, you're probably going to want to study for a lot more each day than if you were taking the exams in 12 weeks, because then, you have more time to spread it all out. So all things you need to consider. My main piece of advice here is to be realistic and, plan something that's sustainable, because a lot of people get started studying with the CPA exams and just instantly they're so I need to do this, I need to do a great job, I need to go so hard. And they're like, I'm going to study 6 hours a day, 7 hours a day. And it's like, okay, that just is not sustainable. You're going to burn yourself out. What happens when, other life commitments come along and you can't actually spend that much time studying? So definitely just don't set your standards too high. Make it something that you can do every single day or every single week. Also try things out, because you won't necessarily know what's going to work well for you. So first few days of studying, try a few things out. Try studying more, try studying less, try studying every day, try only studying a few days. Just try a bunch of things and see what feels good to you, what feels sustainable for you, and what you actually feel most willing to do, because you're going to have to do it every week for the next few months, which is unfortunate, but it's the truth. So try to make it as pleasant as possible. So once you know how many weeks you're going to study for and how many hours you're going to study each week, you can start figuring out how you're actually going to study every single day. So now that you have the overall study timeline and outline, it's time to actually get into the details and figure out how you're going to study. What study strategies are you going to use? And again, my advice is the same here. Try a few things out, see what you like, see what you don't like. Obviously, use the study materials that your review course provides. You don't have to use all of them. You can if you want, but like I said, some people want to be super detail-oriented and do everything. Other people would prefer to, skip over some things. So just figure out what works for you. I have other videos on the channel where I go more in depth on study strategies, so definitely check those out if you want more details. But what I will say, I always say this, is don't do too many simulations. In my personal opinion, they're unnecessary, time-consuming, and just very frustrating. So definitely do some, learn how they work, get decently comfortable with them, but don't feel like you have to do every single simulation, because in my opinion, that would just be a time waste. So now that you have the study strategies, there's one key detail that's really going to pull it together here and make it a perfect study plan. So this amazing study plan you've just created will actually mean nothing if you can't keep it organized and actually execute and stay on top of it. So I would highly recommend figuring out some way that you can organize the study plan. You can check it every day. You can, check off what you've done, see what you haven't done, and just, for peace of mind, I think having some place where you can keep track of your study plan is so helpful. I also think it's good to plan out your study session at least one day in advance, because a lot of times at the start I wouldn't do that, and I would go to study on the day and be like, okay, what should I study? And I'd spend a while kind of stressing and being worried about what should I study and not being sure. But if you plan it, a day in advance, you'll do that stress and that worry day in advance, and then when the day comes, you can just focus on doing the studying. You just see, oh, this is what I need to do, go down the list, get it done, and it's so much simpler that way. Then when you finish that, figure out what you're going to do for the next day. And I don't know, I just think that's a lot simpler than sitting down to study and being like, what do I do? Where do I start? Like I said, there's so many different ways you can organize your study plan, but personally, my favorite, I might be biased, but it's the Smarter CPA's study calendar, which is just a great way to organize your study plan. It's super simple to use and just so helpful. For those of you who don't know, this is my review supplement that I created last year, and I really wanted to make sure that study planning was a big part of it, because that was honestly like one of the biggest areas I struggled with when I was taking these exams. So I'm just going to show you how this works real quick. But you just need to plan a session, and you're studying with friends or by yourself. Usually I would do individual. Let's just say this is for start of April. And yeah, you just pick what study method you want to do. If you want to do that, like you can say, I'm going to reread notes, elaboration, flashcards, whatever. If you want to do that. If not, you can just say general studying from whatever time you want. You also, I don't think you have to put a time. Yeah, you don't even have to put a time if you don't want. You just want to say, tomorrow I'm going to do general studying. If that's how vague you can be if you want. And, you can edit it if you want, change the date, change the time, any of that. But it's just so simple to, plan this out ahead of time. You can plan weeks, days, or months in advance, whatever you want. But also I'll show you, you can get a bit more detailed. You don't just have to say general studying. If you want to say like, you can get as detailed as you want. I'm going to do MCQs from 7:15 a.m. to 7:45 a.m. You can do that. And then flashcards, you want to do that right before bed. Let's just say 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. And there you go. You want to share it with friends? Nope. There you go. There's your studying for Wednesday. And you can just, like I said, plan as much or as little as you want. Be as detailed or as generic as you want. And I don't know, like I said, this is something I really struggled with, so that's why I made it such a big part of my review supplement. And like I said, there's other aspects of the supplement as well, but the study planning was the biggest thing I wanted to focus on, and that's also why I'm making this video, so you guys can get some help, because I know how stressful study planning can be. My biggest piece of advice is, like I said, plan it out at least a day ahead. That way you're not stressing the day of. However, my second biggest piece of advice when it comes to making your CPA exam study plan is to be flexible, because you can plan as much as you want. You can be as detailed in your planning, plan as far ahead out as you want. It's never going to go that way. Like, things come up. You're going to have to go to a birthday party. You're going to get sick. Like, just so many things come up. You have to be flexible. You have to move a study session. You have to not study one day. That's okay. Like, it's going to happen. You have to be okay with that and just move it to another day. Be flexible. That, like I said, be sustainable and be flexible. Those are the two keys in my opinion. Oh, and another thing, reflect as you go through your studying. As you go through your study plan, if something's not working, like, fix it. Reflect on what's going well, what's not going well, and make adjustments accordingly. So that's another study planning thing that I made part of this review supplement, is reflection, because that's something that it was really helpful for me. Like, I would reflect on, okay, what am I not enjoying? What is going well? And it was hard to, have it in my brain just flying around, figure it out. But once I started typing, putting it on paper, it was just so much more helpful. So just come here after you're studying and be like, today's studying went well. Need to do more MCQs. Don't want to do as many sims. Need to do 3 hours tomorrow. And like, literally just something like that. Just get your thoughts out of your head onto paper, and it's really helpful because it just organizes your thoughts and makes you more efficient, and I think more calm, less stressed going forward. And it's also nice to like go back and look back on what you were thinking and use that as you advance through the course. But overall, like I said, sustainable, flexible, and now reflection. Those are the three keys. If you follow the steps I outlined in this video, you will have an amazing study plan and give yourself a great chance of passing the exams. But if you'd rather have a pre-built study plan, I get it. Check the link down below where I have a 60-day CPA exam study plan to get you through your next exam within the next 60 days. So definitely check that out. And if you're interested in the Smarter CPA's review supplement, I will leave the link to that down below as well. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.